Hey, let's step outside again. It's always my favorite time.
Ooh.
You talk about Mother Earth. I want to go green today, boys.
Okay.
I never
Wait.
understood for the life of me why anybody would be anti-Mother Nature.
Aren't we already green?
I suppose
Should we go greener?
we are organic, are we not?
We are.
All right, let's welcome our guest in here just a moment. Jonathan, you guys ever play the samples when you were doing radio down in Champaign-Urbana?
I'm sure we did
Probably.
back in the day.
That was a college. You don't remember all of the
Yeah.
late nights
Yeah.
there at the radio station.
Bit of a blur.
Jonathan Nieuwsma joins us, President, Citizens Greener Evanston. Good to have you, sir. How are you?
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me in here.
I appreciate it very much. As I was kind of saying right there, I've never really understood why there's anybody who would give any pushback about trying to make sure that we were good stewards of Mother Earth. And I think somewhere between the two sides there is sensibility in doing business and making sure we leave a lasting legacy of this gift that we were given for the next generation. Are we doing better as a society, as a people, in taking care of the Earth?
Better than
Let's see. How about our
Yeah.
parents' generation? You and I look like we're
I-
closer
yeah.
to 40 than 30 than our
Closer
parents'
to-
generation.
yeah. I'll take 40.
Ha.
Yeah, we are.
Good.
We are doing better. You know, since the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act in the late '60s under a Republican administration,
Mhm.
for that matter, we are doing a lot better than we were a generation ago. And I hope that our kids' generation will look back and say that they're doing even better than we are now.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. It's been a while now, but I was in China it's been a decade now, and you really couldn't even see the next block. It's tragic, but these things ultimately right themselves. I think we'll see economically different conversation, but we may see a slowdown in China as they start to combat the damage that has been wreaked upon that nation. It was really impressive to see over the weekend the premier of China say, we are going to see the sky again, which gives you an indication
Yeah.
of how terrible things have become in other parts of the world. Now, we'll bring it back all the way back here to Evanston in a moment. But
I used to travel to China a lot
Yeah.
for work, and a number of times, probably 20,
Yeah.
25 times.
Cool.
I saw blue sky in Shanghai once,
Oh.
exactly. So
and it's
Go ahead,
wor-
Dan.
and it's worse in Beijing.
In that
It's
same vein,
terrific.
does that right there prove to us that it is better to hit this stuff early
Oh, yeah.
before it's actually a problem? Like, does it cost us more to fix it than it does to prevent it?
Yeah.
An avoided problem is a cheaper fix than a problem that already exists.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, let's look at Fukushima, and I know we're going way over the top here to begin with, but Fukushima, Chernobyl, these are things that ideally could have been prevented, but lasting for Lord knows how long, hundreds, if not many more years beyond that. What has the biggest obstacle been? The business community, been big manufacturing, big oil, all the normal culprits that would initially come to mind for those of us who just kind of have a cursory understanding of the situation? Or is it the little things, each household?
In some cases, it's the big business interests, and I think we're going way beyond
That's
what's
okay.
going
We're
on here
coming
in
home.
Evanston.
Hey, we're coming home.
But big business also has a role to play in making things better. For example, the wind energy industry.
Yeah.
This is not a mom and pop industry. These are
Mhm.
multi-million, billion-dollar projects. That's big business. That's Wall Street right there. And in the last 10 years, the number of wind farms in the United States has multiplied exponentially, and people are making money on it.
Well, and that's the new way to be is sustainability, essentially, right? How is Evanston starting to get into that to be sustainable, essentially?
Yeah, Evanston is one of the leading communities in the country when it comes to sustainability, or at least that's the vision that we have, and that's how we want to. That's the goal we're working towards. Evanston has had a climate action plan since 2008.
Oh.
That initial climate action plan set a goal of a 13% greenhouse gas reduction by 2012. Happy to say we met that,
Nice.
and we raised the bar or lowered the bar even further to a 20% reduction by 2016. And hopefully, when the numbers come in on that, we'll be able to show that we've met that goal. And then where do we go from here?
Well, what is that? How do you attain that locally? What plans were put into place, and how were they executed, and how did you get those results?
The number one thing we did to reduce our greenhouse gases locally was to do electricity aggregation with 100% renewable energy. And what that means is that if you live in Evanston, if you live in Illinois as an individual homeowner, you are allowed to buy electricity from any number of different sources. There's
Right.
a couple of dozen approved sources in Illinois. And aggregation, municipal aggregation, uh, allows the community of Evanston to kind of go together, not as one household, but as up to 20 or 30,000 households, and negotiate a better rate. And that required a referendum to be passed here by the voters of Evanston that authorized the city council to then negotiate that better deal. And for us here in Evanston, better meant not only cheaper, but also renewable. So for the last 5 years, most Evanston residents have been getting renewable energy, getting their electricity from renewable sources.
Yeah, I think I get wind at my house.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Jonathan Nieuwsma joins us, president of Greener Evanston. GreenerEvanston.org is the website. You kind of hit on what I was going to ask you next. How to, when families, not all families have a tremendous amount of money left over at the end of the month. For those families that are kind of riding the fence, how does it work to where you can even see price reductions on some of these utilities, which is fascinating because when I hear these plans initially rolled out, I'm concerned, as just a head of household, oh my gosh, is this I want to do the right thing, but sometimes the right thing is more expensive.
Yeah. Renewable energy admittedly costs a little bit more.
But it's
But
obviously going to go down.
It's a teeny tiny bit more. And
Tiny's not much.
if we get everybody to go in together and negotiate on behalf of an expanded volume, the minor offset for the renewable is more than offset by the economy of scale.
Could you answer a question for me? This is the most basic of questions in this conversation that unfortunately I don't think everybody knows. But what is sustainable? What makes something sustainable? What makes us a sustainable community? I mean, I know that's super basic, but
That's a great question.
Oh,
there's no
finally,
there's no easy answer.
months
That's
since I've
kind
had
of
one.
kind of an ongoing issue.
Yeah.
Kind of an ongoing discussion within the sustainability industry, so to speak, and
Yeah.
within our organization as well. What can we do to not only reduce our carbon footprint, but also make our community not only environmentally sustainable, but economically and socially sustainable as well. And the intersection of environmentalism and social justice is an area known as environmental justice, and that's something that we're focused on as well.
One of the things that I found so impressive, I'm the only guy in this building I think that still lives in the city. Everybody else is in Evanston, and I love the vision that the founders of Chicago had. Just to give us that little something that other communities don't have. That sliver right by the lake. No, don't touch that for the most part. And then I see, more native species being brought in. The wonderful grasslands that grow up between Lakeshore Drive and the lake. We have similar things here in Evanston, no?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? What are some of what was not here 20, 30, 40 years ago that are kind of have made us a jewel in bringing back the wildlife around this area?
I've only been in Evanston for 8 years.
Yeah.
So going back 20,
Oh,
30 years.
How about in your time then? What advances have you seen since then? Last 8 years.
Yeah, well, one of the challenges we have with a world-class university right on the lake is managing their need for growth versus the demands of the environment. And so Northwestern recently put up a big building, and that required them to take down some natural habitat.
The
But
Performing Arts Center?
yeah, they offset that by investing in some green space and creating a bird sanctuary elsewhere on the lakefront.
Nice.
So it's that kind of community collaboration and partnership, not only with the government of Evanston, with Northwestern University, the other big employers in town, and us all as residents and citizens as well.
I would have to think you have many willing partners, including the university. Now, granted, in that instance, some concessions had to be made, but a university, especially to me, would be one of the most receptive partners you could possibly have for taking care of the area.
Yeah, and a large portion of our carbon footprint reduction can be attributed to Northwestern procuring renewable energy for their own use as well.
That's really great to see that they're working with us, and in that same kind of vein of community, Edible Evanston. I mean, this is the time of year where we have to start planting our gardens and essentially start. What are we going to grow? How's it going? The weather's coming up a little bit. How can we get involved with Edible Evanston to almost be part of that gardening community?
Yeah, Edible Evanston is one of CGE's programs, and the Edible Evanston folks were kind of operating on their own for a few years
Hmm.
and looking, uh, shopping around for an organization that would allow them to kind of expand their reach and expand their capabilities. So they've been part of
Okay.
Citizens Greener Evanston for about a year now, and they do a lot of stuff focused on edible, on local food
Hmm.
and making local food and healthy food available to the entire community.
Exactly. I'm waiting for the farmers market to come back around too. I know the winter one's still there, but I love just seeing those lush fruits and just the vibrant colors. And heck, it's a great place to
Yeah.
have a community meeting as well.
Yeah. So Edible Evanston will help you set up a garden in your
Hmm.
own yard. If you don't know what you're doing, they have folks who do know what they're doing. They can come out and help you set up a garden. If that garden gets to be really successful
Hmm.
and come August you have way too many zucchinis,
Hmm.
they'll come and pick some of those up and take the extras to a food pantry to
Oh,
share
Nice.
with folks
wow.
who need healthy local food.
Jonathan Nieuwsma joins us, president of Greener Evanston. Just what are some of the ways we can reduce our carbon footprint? You know, the greenhouse gases. What do these look like? Obviously, you mentioned wind. We mentioned a number of things, but what else is on the books, or what's the plan to diminish that emissions?
Well,
Those emissions.
we need to continue this aggregation program with renewable energy. The contract we're in right now expires at the end of the July-August billing cycle.
Hmm.
So one of the first things the next city council is going to be doing is taking a look at the next contract, which would go into effect in August this year. And hopefully the electric market will allow us to continue offering something that's cheaper as well as 100% renewable.
And what about down the road? Anything a little more daring, you know, or maybe not really daring, but just other things we could do? Water collection comes to mind. I've seen that done before, and it seems like a no brainer to me. I don't know if there's pushback from the utilities on
Yeah,
that, but
there's stuff with green infrastructure that the city is starting to take a look at with permeable pavers, doing
yeah.
some kind of experimental projects that haven't always turned out great,
Hmm.
but there's a learning curve for this kind of new technology. But what else can we do to reduce our carbon footprint? Us as individuals, we all have the power to turn down our thermostat in the wintertime and
Hmm.
turn it up a little bit in the summertime. It makes my wife a little bit uncomfortable,
Uh-huh.
so there's always a discussion there.
Well, there's always layers. You can put another
Yeah,
sweater on and think,
My,
wow.
yeah.
yeah, Kevin, hang on. My son's the worst. The kid, he wants to turn up the heater, bring out the heater, and plug it in the wall. But buddy, you're in your underwear. Can you just put some clothing on? Yeah.
Now, this Saturday, Citizens Greener Evanston is putting on a mayoral forum uh, at the in the Paracel room at the Civic Center. What made you guys want to get involved with this mayoral election?
Well, knowing that aggregation is critical to our greenhouse gas targets, we want to make sure that the incoming city council and the new mayor of Evanston have this issue on their radar screen. Not only this issue, but the vast array of green infrastructure, green transportation, the Evanston Bike Plan. You know, there's um, a lot of concepts that are included in the Evanston Climate Action Plan,
Mhm.
and we want to make sure our local officials are aware of this and make sure that they're prioritizing that.
The two mayoral candidates left standing, are they both on board with that?
Come on out on Saturday and find out.
Perfect. Now, where do we do that on Saturday?
2 o'clock at the Civic Center in the Parasol Room.
2 o'clock, Civic Center, Parasol Room. Mark Tendam and Steve Haggerty will be there. Brought to you by Citizens Greener Evanston. Citizens Greener Evanston. You can find more online at greenerevanston.org. Any more, Kevin? Did you have one question, or did I interrupt you a minute ago? You're good
No,
to
I
go.
just wanted to bring up and make sure we talked about the mayoral forum since it's like Sonar was talking about community. Evanston, Citizens Greener Evanston is doing everything they can for the community, even getting involved in the mayoral forum.
Well, hey, Jonathan, I appreciate the education. I mean, this is something that I personally haven't spent enough time on, and I feel like such a novice. Haven't been so. Yeah, the education. Maybe we'll learn more and have an even better conversation in the future.
Yeah, happy to come back.
Perfect. Jonathan Nieuwsma, President, Citizens Greener Evanston, French and Friends here, 1590 WCGO. Hope to see you at that forum. More coming up.